Welcome back to another episode of Exposing It All podcast. So, today we're going to talk about parenting.
Yeah.
We are just going to jump right into this, I guess. And we're just flying by. We're just going to have an open discussion today.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say I shared in a previous podcast about my little jail episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for me growing up, I had very strict parents, mostly my mother. Let's just say that because my dad wasn't as strict and he didn't discipline us. But my mom, on the other hand, you couldn't even look wrong before getting like slapped or hit or, the look. Um, I think I was actually hit with a belt until I was 17.
Wow.
Yep. But, how was your parenting? Or like how tell us how you were raised.
Well,
How are you
yeah, I
disciplined?
was raised by a single mother, so she had to be the disciplinary and the loving at the same time. Um, Growing up, we maybe when we were younger, we tried to get spanked. My mom would try and spank us, and it didn't work. Trying to raise two boys and trying to spank them is trying to like break two wild horses. It's not going to happen. Um, but she did. Um, she taught us more than with love than with actual physical. Um, there, it wasn't like getting beatings and spankings. It's just that it didn't do anything to us anymore. We'd laugh, and even though it might have hurt or whatever, we'd laugh it off or anything like that. Breaking spoons, hairbrushes, stuff like that over our behinds because we were big boys and it wasn't going to stop us. So she definitely disciplined us, but what she thought she was doing didn't work. So she just loved, and it was a different approach. Did have other people in our lives trying to discipline us. I would say the biggest person in my life for that as a male figure was my uncle Ricky. He disciplined with a strong hand and with love. I remember we would get whooped and we'd have to read this prayer before we got
The
whooped, and
prayer.
it was a humbling experience because I respected him for it. I didn't fear him for it. I respected him for it. I definitely think it was all out of love. It wasn't out of anger. It was never that way. If you have to go read a scripture before you get a spanking, I don't think you're getting whooped out of maliciousness or hate or anything like that.
It was like a reminder.
It
My
definitely
mom used
was.
to
It
give
was
us that all the
correction.
time.
It
Yeah.
was a good correction that we needed. And like I said, my uncle Ricky, we'd go to Kansas like every summer, and that's who got us right. It took a while. It wasn't right away, but I remember one time I was in the kitchen with my mom and at my uncle Ricky's house, and I had bought a blow dart gun from Uncle Ricky's. He had his own card shop in Kansas, and I was like, "Mom, hurry up! I want you to go." Like I was like telling her what to do, and he said, "Boy, you don't talk to your mom like that." And I had, obviously crossed the line and been disrespectful, and right there and there in front of my mom. It wasn't a question. It was like, I'm gonna go spank at David or anything like that. It was straight correction. I already knew. I already knew what it was. So it was go, go to the bathroom, pay, sing, say the prayer, and get your licks. And like I said, that made me a better person. Had me respect for my uncle Ricky, who I looked at as a father figure, and respect for my mother as well. So I think there's good and bad ways to do that. But as a child, you always think it's bad when you're getting whooped, regardless.
I think us growing up, it was different though. Like for us, like my mom made us read the prayer too, and her shortened version was spare the rod, spoil the child. But yeah, we were kind of spoiled. That's the truth. Well, me and my younger sister were kind of spoiled, but
Yeah.
the rest of the kids, like my mom was a single mom too, with her three older kids. So my older siblings, and they got whooped. They got whooped. But I can honestly say, I think like we got spanked, but I think it was a little excessive for us. Like it wasn't just like, oh, go to Like it wasn't like that. Like we just got a spanking like on our bottoms. It was like if you move, you're just gonna get hit wherever. And I don't care who's looking. If you talking to me crazy, you gonna get popped wherever and don't even care. I remember this one time that my mom threatened her. She threatened her. She did not even hit her. My younger sister called 911. She called the cops. And the police come, right? And they're at the door. My mom's like, "Do you have a warrant?" She's asking. She knew the law. Like my mom knew, she was a master of many trades and she knew the law like the back of her hand. And I remember her getting the police to leave. Like they never got past the front screen door even being open. And she was like, "Okay, well, and if you don't have a warrant, get off my property." And I was like, "We're gonna die." All because my sister called the police because I was like, "You're gonna come back and we're gonna be dead." And they just looked at us like, "Okay," but that was back then when it was like okay, like it was okay
Yeah.
to discipline your children if they were disrespectful, talk crazy, being crazy. Um, like, but I do remember like my mom making us read the scripture as well. And we did that with our oldest. Like at first, I have to say, me going to jail changed my parenting because I was so used to you don't disrespect, you don't talk over me, you don't interrupt adults. Like those are still good teaching, but there's a different way to redirect a child. Where for me, it was just whoop you for everything you did.
Like you
You
said, a
know,
look, it was it could be a look. And I think, going back to like what you said, the older kids definitely had it a lot different than us because they
right?
lived in different dynamics than us. I can say for myself that my older siblings didn't have a stable situation for themselves and my mom as well. So that was hard enough as it was. So when you're battling, homelessness and you're battling places to stay and taking care of your children, I don't think, that, it's humbling enough that there was discipline, there was already unity, there was already people, you had to be together. So it was different. So my
Yeah.
mom did the best job that she could and she did an amazing job. And, like I said, when it came to an authoritative like man figure, that it had to be somebody different outside the house. Not that my mom couldn't do it, but she definitely authorized that to my uncle Ricky, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that, like Sarah said, with our own child, we definitely had a bit of a yin and yang, if you will, both sides of the coin, if you will, of how to parent our child. Did it happen that way initially right away? No.
And
With us,
we had to learn how to parent our child
yeah,
together because where I came from, just like whoop your tail. Doesn't matter. That's what I came from. Where David came from a different type of discipline, where and with our oldest, he's about to be 16. And with our oldest, that was our only child for 6 years. It was like a learning experience for us. We had to find a balance between the both of us. But I was the disciplinary, like David was more like he would correct him, but not like you would never like hit him. You're
not
on
necessarily
straight,
threatened, but like
So
just to have that fear put in him. Like when your dad gets here, everybody
yep,
knows that saying. When your dad gets here, and have that fear. And
yeah.
honestly, it was just that I didn't want to, like I said, be that hit out of anger or hurt, you know, my child because I didn't know my strength or anything like that at that point or anything of that sort. It was like it was different. So
And I think it was your mom that explained to us like our hands should be for love. Like they
yeah,
shouldn't be for like and don't ever hit with your hand,
yeah, because.
That because that's what loves your child. That's what
Exactly. You
comforts
go to
your
raise your
child.
hands like this, your kid, and they're jumping. That's a sign of what they, So, um, definitely. And like we even would tell our child, this is from love. Like we're doing this because we love you. You may not think that, but this is because I love you. And correction, I think has to happen for kids nowadays. Like if you look at it nowadays, kids they didn't have that kind of correction and they don't. And look how wild and crazy some kids are.
Mm-hmm.
You can see in public. We're not to toot our own horns, but we're constantly getting praise for
Compliments on how
compliments
well
how
behaved our
our
children
children
are.
like we didn't even know you had kids in the store with you.
Yep.
And it's not because we beat them; it's because we took them out at a young age, and we told them, "Hey, we don't act like that. This is what you do.
Yep.
You stay close to us. You
And we
hold
always
hands."
get on their level. So like go just backtracking a little bit to when I went to jail, I feel like that was a learning experience for the both of us
Yeah.
because we learned, and then also it taught us how to break chains. I ended up going to different parenting classes, and I was able to kind of like bring that home and like change how I was, because I feel like David was already like the softer, loving parent to be able to like correct our child out of love versus like anger. And that was something we were told too, like don't ever discipline your child out of anger. So even though our oldest probably got a few more spankings, like call it what it is, when he was younger, um than our older children, because we still believe in discipline.
Mhm.
But the thing is, like, there's different discipline when it comes to your children. I think it's very important. Like, we've always gotten on their level. Like, we don't talk to them standing above them. Like, I am firm about getting on their level to talk to them and making sure they understand me, but also talking slow, not talking too much, not continuing to talk and not give them an opportunity to respond, but talking to them and asking them, do you understand? Right? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand why we don't do this? But we did take them out at a young age. We had three under three, and we had our oldest, and then we had three under three. So we took them out to restaurants. We took them out to stores. We never dropped them out. Well, first of all, we didn't really have like a backup when it came to like sitters and stuff like that. Like my mom passed away before we had the three younger ones, and then David's mom couldn't always, like, that's a lot, three under three, like that. And plus the oldest, like the oldest was helpful, but we always have our kids. We always have them. So we would take them to restaurants. We'd take them to the grocery store. I remember like by myself having all four kids, going to the grocery store, and people do compliment how well behaved our children are. And it's because I believe the way we parent, and we're a team. Like, it's not go ask your mom, go ask your dad.
Yeah, the
It's
kids at a young age found that out quick, and we
yeah.
let them know, hey, me and mommy, we're on the same page. Like, you go ask mommy something, you're not going to get one over on mommy and then soften up daddy because you got a daddy's girl. No, if mommy said that, I agree with mommy.
Yeah.
We're a team, and you're coming against two, not against, but you're not just going to get your way by trying to trick us. And they knew that.
Yep.
They still know that to this day. And yeah, I'm still more of a little more pushover, if you will. But when it comes to like, can we get things, but not when when they're being disciplined and being corrected, we're always on the same page.
Yep.
We always are. And like, I think that comes from the different dynamics that we came from, and then the
Mm-hmm.
experiences that we lived through with our first child. Like you said, we had Ezekiah for 6 years by ourselves, and we had a lot to learn. He learned from us, and we learned from him. And there was, multiple occasions, and I think that, having, like I said, correcting children is important, because if you're not having any kind of correction, think about when they're older, and grown, there's no way to control that. There's no way. Now they're out in society, and now
Yep.
they're out doing things, and you can't control that. And, at that point, as a parent, you're like, well, I guess I did my best. Well, it shouldn't be that way. You had 18 years with this child. You definitely should have instilled a lot more in them than what outcame. And I believe it's proven fact, right? From 0 to 5 years old
Yeah. Your kids
is
learn
what they
everything
learn.
that they need to know between 0 and 5. Like
Yeah.
everything, their brain develops between age 0 and 5. And that is what builds their character. And we were always so big on that we're big on respect. We are big on respect. David has always been the person to like open the door, hold the door open, not only for women, but for older people, for just people in general, like being kind, showing kindness. Like we are very big on that. So people are shocked when they see our children act more like parents. Like they look out for other kids. They are just so respectful. But we've always been big on that. We had a friend who was like her. We watched her teach her kids, yes, sir. Um, yes ma'am, she would teach her kids that, and that's how they would respond, when they were being corrected, like, excuse me, what, yes sir, yes ma'am, like they were just so respectful. And I was like, man, And I learned from a lot of other parents that were different. I knew that I wanted to break the generational chains after I went to jail and after I went to these parenting classes, even though the charges were dropped. Like I said, when I told the judge, like, I was at the school multiple times because you said my son was a bully. Okay. And because I discipline him after going to the school multiple times, I'm in trouble now. Would you rather have me in front of you or my son? And the judge was very thankful for that, because even when our oldest son was growing up, it was already starting to get to that point of where, like, kids are now in charge. Parents are no longer in charge, because if you hit your children, it's automatic abuse. When it can be abusive. Like I said, my mom hit us excessively, and probably sometimes, like, if I looked wrong, some people will think I'm rolling my eyes and I'm not, but like, you could watch me in my video, my eyes are all over the place. I don't
Ooh,
look.
you just did
Yep, exactly.
it.
Like, but I teach my kids too, because I know it's a problem for me. Like, okay, look at me when I'm talking to you. Their dad, look at me when I'm talking to you. And we make sure that they comprehend what we're saying, and we're not just correcting them. And we are not, like, you are not the parent and I am not your friend.
Yeah,
I am the parent.
exactly.
We are not friends. And yes, we let our kids have opinions. We let them talk, but we teach them accountability too. We teach them to be accountable for their actions. We teach them to, we never, ever, ever, ever say, go tell them you're sorry.
Yeah.
That we've always been big on that,
Yeah,
even when
and
our
even though
oldest
we were
was.
grown, as I was, that was part of it. But there needs to be an action with that.
Yep.
That's what we put into that. Oh, you could say you're sorry, but there needs to be an action with that, and
And you
that
have to
can
know
be,
what you're apologizing for.
yeah.
Are you genuinely sorry?
I'm
If you're
sorry
not sorry,
for
don't tell
hitting you.
somebody
I'm
sorry.
sorry for saying mean things to you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're reflecting and you're letting that person know, hey, I truly am thinking about what I did and I'm remorseful for it and I'm gonna embrace you for it. And at the end of the day, we are brothers, we're sisters, we're blood is thicker
Yeah.
than water. People are always saying, yeah, Sarah and I both have friends too, and they're like family to us as well. You know what I'm saying? So we have that as well, but as our family unit of us together, that saying blood thicker than water, it is so much true, because it is that, you have to look after each other. I look after mommy looks after me, I look after you, you look after it goes down the line from the
And not
oldest
even
to the
necessarily
youngest.
like blood thicker than water, because I feel like that is I grew up in a toxic family, and there
Well,
is some blood I will not associate with
that
whatsoever. But
I'm saying
for
you're
our kids,
from your mom
yeah,
down, not your
yeah,
siblings,
from our
your
kids, we
uncles, your
teach them,
aunties.
yeah,
No,
we do
that's all
teach
I'm
them
talking about.
unity. Yeah, like unity. Like, you only have each other. Like, what if something happened to me? Are you going to take care of your sibling? Are you going to help them? What if something happened to them? Would you, or we've had a couple of traumatizing situations. When our oldest was 13, he ran away. And that was like one of the scariest things. He was sneaking out at night. He almost got shot in the middle of the night. Um, he just went through a bad stint, and we don't know why. We felt like we were good parents, and we gave him freedom, more freedom than I ever had. Let me tell you what, like, people, if you wanted to have a sleepover, it was going to be at my house, because I can go nowhere.
Mm.
And let me tell you, I snuck out one time in my life, and I think I was like 16 or 17, and it was in kind of by the neighborhood I lived in, and I was like, my mom's gonna find me. Me and my friend were out for like 15 minutes. That's it. We snuck out of her house. That was the first time I got to sleep over at somebody's house, and I was like 16, 17. And I remember, like, I was so terrified my mom was gonna find me that we wouldn't even, like, it wasn't even fun. Okay, it was not even fun. But we had some traumatizing situations to where we're like, well, what if something happened, and our kids love each other? Like, yes, they can fight, their siblings, but
Yeah,
they love and protect each other.
yeah.
And I
And
always tell
respect.
them, like, they have a voice when it comes to anybody. Like, we don't make our kids be silent either. They are allowed, if we're not around, to protect each other and speak up for one another. And I will not ever be upset at them. And I tell them that all the time. There has been times where our youngest, he knows he's the baby, and he can be a little obnoxious,
Yeah,
get
like
on some
all
people.
babies
And
can.
but his older brother, if I'm not there to protect him, he will protect him.
Yeah,
The girls will
and
protect
he'll
him
correct
too.
him too.
And
So
yeah, they will all they'll correct each other. Like, even our 9-year old, she'll correct the oldest, because she does have a high IQ. She's a borderline genius. So, like, she will correct the oldest, but they look out for each other more than anything. Like, they're very tight knit, and that's another chain we wanted to break. And that's why I said, like, there's some blood don't associate with, but that's a chain I wanted to break for our family where we take care of each other. And that's why we didn't push the I'm sorry, because it's like, are you? I always ask them the question, like, are you sorry? Even if it's like at church or like when our oldest was at school, because I do homeschool now and have for the last 7, 8 years. But when our oldest was at school, I'm like, are you sorry? Did you feel bad for hurting that person or did you not? How did you feel when that happened? What happened? I ask them questions like, why did you do that? Our youngest threw a shoe at the older daughter today. And I'm like, why did you do that? Do you think you need to talk to her? What do you need to say? And it took him a minute, but when he did it, it was genuine from both sides. And she was still mad.
Mm-hmm. Too bad.
She was so mad. She was like, I forgive you.
Like, okay, well.
And I was like, that doesn't
It being
sound like
upset still.
forgiveness. But
And
I,
they embraced, and it was love. And it wasn't us forcing them. Okay, now hug them and make. We didn't
but we
force
are
it.
big on that because like we're affectionate with each other. And I'm like, okay.
But I'm
And
just saying,
sometimes if they're fighting, I'm
yeah,
like,
no one made. I
hug it
didn't
out.
make them do that.
Right. Yeah,
You
that's,
have to hug her, and now it's over. Like,
yeah.
no, they on their own accord are doing that, and they're respective and responsible, and
Yeah.
that is a different touch on like what you said too. Even homeschooling, like, yes, homeschooling isn't like we live in a tree house and we just
Yeah.
like our
And they
kids
get
are
no
secluded and they
socialization.
have our kids are social. They see us being socialized with people. Hey, how you doing? Good morning, ma'am. How are you? That's how our kids are.
Yep.
They don't yes, they don't just talk to random strangers if they're alone by themselves. Of course not, they don't do that, but they are respectful to people. They do say hello. They'll compliment girls. The girls are constantly complimenting girls. Oh my gosh, I love your hair. I love your nails. They're
Yes.
so beautiful. And they're like, oh my gosh, we love your hair, and just things like that because that's truly how
They're
they feel. They're
shocked when
genuinely,
they
truly
find out we homeschool.
being honest with them. So yeah, like that is another part of parenting that I think is your own preference, but it has been a world of difference for us. Obviously, our true,
Yeah.
our us having, our faith and our own standards and our own ways that we want our kids to be.
And
And
we get to teach them at their own pace.
yeah,
Like
it's
that's a
just
big thing for us too. And I think that
even
that's
more
also
so for
part of
me. Yeah,
parenting.
I was pushed along to just grow and go up, and it was like too much, not too much, but just like you just get passed on because you're the big kid, and at this you can go at your own pace at your own levels, and like you said, some of them are exceeding levels and some of them takes a little bit longer, but that's okay. You don't have to be forced to do things that are out of your comfort zone. But yeah, that's definitely different part of our parenting. But like I said, I think we come from the best of both worlds, and we're able to see that to where we're able to use both sides of both our dynamics of where we came from, and use that to like not only change and break generational curses, but to make things new and make
Yeah.
things our own. Like Sarah said, to make things our
And
own.
it's different. I feel like it's a different dynamic too when you get to raise your own children. Like I've been with them. I didn't always work full time. I do work full time now, but I didn't always work full time. And I've literally been with them since we had our second. And so I got to be with them 2, 4, 7, 3, 6, 5 since we had our second child. And I had started homeschooling the oldest for a little while and it was hard because he likes to be doing multiple things. Like he's a genuine multitasker, I feel like, because if he's not doing multiple things, he's bored. And they used to push that off as like the typical ADD, ADHD. Even after tests, that was never the issue with him. It's just that he wants to do something for a little bit. He loves to crochet, for example. He crochets. He will start a project and gets bored and moves on to the next thing. We're like, oh, did you finish that blanket? I don't work miracles.
Yeah,
Like
it's a scarf
he's
now.
he loves to do things and he's so multi-talented, but he does not, he gets bored. He wants to move on to the next thing. And that's just, it's kind of cool to be able to homeschool because we get to learn how they learn and teach them at that pace versus like, okay, everybody sits down at the same time. Everybody has lunch at the same time. No, that's not how we operate. And I think that's why they have such a, like, they're the best. Like I always say like our kids are super mega dope because they're so loving, they're so kind,
They're the best part of us.
they are and talk and like part of parenting is being able to like redirect them. That's the biggest thing for us too. Like, it's no longer like, okay, I need to use force to redirect you unless it comes down to that, but it's very rare it comes down to that. Like, do I think that it's wrong and I don't believe in it? Absolutely not. Like, I will never say, like, I don't think you should never spank your child, or like you got to backhand them on occasion. Like, not all the time, but like it has to be something serious that it was deserving. I just explained this to my daughter the other day because she hit her sister, and I was like, do you think she deserved that? What did she do? And in that moment, it was an accountability teaching. Like, you didn't like the fact that your sister spoke the truth about you, and so instead you react out of anger. That's not good at all. You can probably hear them right now. I don't know how good the sound is here, but they're fighting right at this moment. But we don't interject when they're fighting, huh?
No, we
Like,
try.
we try to let them figure it out. And we always tell them, figure it out. Because we already say sometimes when one's in trouble, they're all in trouble. So we give them the opportunity to fight and figure it out. And don't come to me unless something's like bleeding or broken. Like, you can figure it out.
That's where we're
Like,
a little different, you know.
yeah.
That's the softer part. Yeah, that's definitely the hard part.
Yeah,
You're
but
bleeding
yeah,
or
he will
broken.
step in, or like
Yeah,
if
like
something is
that's
bleeding or
not
broken,
okay.
like you would not
But
believe.
definitely there's some things that have to be worked through, and they can be, obviously they can be figured out through them. And yeah, that's just, part of letting them, not letting them be their own person, but like they're
Grow,
their own,
problem solve.
exactly, they're their own little being, and we're helping them to become grown adults, and that's what's helping them mold from that character to building to understanding the dynamic of mommy and daddy are on the same team. You guys are on our team as well, but you're not going to try and put us against each other because that doesn't work. Or even when you try putting against each other, that doesn't work either, because ultimately you guys need to work together as well. And it doesn't always happen that way, but there are great things that come from the things that we have done, to the homeschooling, to the fact of allowing them to speak their own mind, allowing them to have correction and redirection.
Respectfully speak their
Um,
mind. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, of course, and there's times that even with teenagers, you got to let them know, hey, I'm gonna put you aside, buddy. What you said was a little out of line. I'm not gonna jump down your throat about it, but
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you know, hey, that was a little. If I was coming at you like that, then I guess I would, not I guess, but I would deserve that. You get what you give, and I don't think I was given that, so maybe
Another
just
thing
check
that
that for
we've done
next time
too
as
is
well.
like not only letting them be their own individuals, but we don't compare them. They're four different individuals. The three younger ones may be closer in age, but they are so different. Every single one of them is different.
Hmm.
And we've allowed them to be their own individuals. We've allowed them to, you know, and they can speak their mind, like, we said, respectfully, we allow that because I feel like it's important. Like, us growing up in our generation, I believe many of us were like, don't talk when adults are talking, don't talk unless spoken to. You weren't allowed to express your feelings, you weren't allowed to cry and express your emotions. Where our kids, I'm like, it's okay to cry, it's okay, and show them our emotions. Like, I show my emotions, and I didn't used to. I used to suppress them, and I don't believe in that now, to where I'm like, they need to see that so they know it's okay. It happens in childhood, it happens in adulthood. And we try not to be like, oh, well, don't cry about that, that's nothing to cry about. Like, we try not to do that, where it's like, it's harder for me because I used to suppress that, but that's something I also had to break. Like, not non-negotiables are for us are definitely respect, number one. Like, even with each other, respect your siblings, respect your elders. Like, respect is the biggest thing. And I think that's why we get so many compliments on our children, because we've instilled that in them. They watch how we interact with adults, and they interact with kids that way. Where they don't like run around. Like, when we used to go out to eat and stuff, we would make them sit down. We would make them sit down next to us. They use their own plates and spoons and forks, and we did not let them play. That was not something like, and we also didn't do technology.
Yeah.
Like, we messed up with our oldest, letting him have the tablet. And one night we wake up, or we go to bed. He has a tablet. He's going to finish a movie. We didn't, this is before we knew about time limits and all that too, right? And we wake up at 4 o'clock because we worked at the same company and we're getting ready for work. And I was like, is he still awake? And I go in there, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and he's like this, like eyes are bloodshot, and he's like watching the tablet. And I was like, nope, After that, our younger kids did not have a phone or tablet. And that's another thing people have said at restaurants too. They love how we interact with our kids because if there's coloring book, hey, we're coloring too. If there's tic tac toe, hey, we're coloring with them, tic tac toe with them, teaching them word searches. Like, we are big on not, like, you don't need something in front of your face. We're big on talking, at the table and talking to each other. We're not on phones. Like, my mom would never let us have a phone at the table, like, ever growing up. Your mom either.
Yeah, I think I had
Like,
a
she
phone when I
didn't,
was like
like, ever.
17 years old. My
Yeah.
first phone. And I was just like,
I was,
it,
but I was a teenager too. I don't think that, like, our parents let us do that kind
no,
of
it
stuff.
wasn't
Like, we was
like
like
you
at the
in front of your
table.
phone at all time. It's like
Yeah.
there's a time to have family time, and that's what we're
Yeah.
big on too is family time. Whenever we're all together, then that's family time. Obviously, that's important. So that even though we're together all the time, but we're still bonding, whether it be
Hmm.
playing Uno or a board game or watching a movie or anything like that. Just enjoying that time as well to have that bond feed and
David's big on like family date nights. Like, oh, we're gonna do this as a family, and me too. Like, when it comes to our vacations and everything, like, we make time for each other, but we also make sure that there's time for the kids. Like, these things, and it's not just all about the kids because it goes us and then our kids. And that's a big thing too, where I think a lot of mothers will step back and be like, oh, it's all about my kids. I got to do this for my kids. I got to do this for my kids. Well, if you're in a relationship, it is your spouse and then your children. And some women don't seem to agree with that, especially nowadays, where they just pour their all into their kids. And I do pour my all into my kids, but it starts here. And when they're grown and gone and living their own lives, it's going to be us it's going to be us.
and we have to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we always talk about like, oh, you're never leaving. You're gonna stay in the house with us forever. But ultimately, we will be one day empty nesters, and the kids will always be able to come back to our home. Always, of course. But like Sarah said, like it'll just be us too, and that's what we have to remember. So we do, squeeze in our date nights when we have a Friday night free. Hey, let's just go
And
out.
they be trying to get rid of us
Yeah,
sometimes.
go on a date. We have our babysitter or whatever it may be, and stuff like that. So they understand that dynamic as well, of us having our time and them having their own time, and that's important as well. Just because it just all around, excuse me, helps us grow. And I think um, I forget how you said it, but just the no, what'd you say? No,
Non-negotiables.
non-negotiables is obviously our walk of life with Christ.
Yeah, that's number one in our
That's
household. Yep.
non-negotiable. I lived in a house where I was forced to go to church, and yes, I did for a while put my whole heart into church. But once I got older, was rebellious, and I was like, I'm 18, I don't have to go to church, and it wasn't the case. Like, you still live under my household, you're still going to do what I do, and that's going to church. And there's a difference of being forced and a difference of being fully wholehearted, but we don't force our kids
Nope.
to go and praise and jump, and
We don't force them to go to the
down to the altar.
altar. We don't
You need
force
to
them to
repent for
pray.
what you did earlier. No, they do that with their wholeheartedly. Why? Because they see us do it as well. We be the example of showing them, hey, that time I'm feeling broken, I need to go down and get prayed for, or I'm gonna jump today and I'm gonna praise and I'm gonna do that, or even
Yep.
just seeing them do that. Like our youngest daughter Coda, she'll go and grab people out of the crowd and want them to enjoy and praise
Oh
with her.
yeah, she's done that
She's a
since
little
she was like
praiser.
3.
Yeah, she'll
Yeah.
just pull people out of the crowd. Some people would be like, oh
Come
no,
praise with me.
oh thank you, and some people were about it, and that was awesome. That was her little love language. She's always been that way. So those type of things have been things she's seen, and she did them herself. We didn't force her to do those things. So that was biggest there is um
No secrets, like non-negotiables,
yeah,
like
definitely
no
not
no
no secrets.
secrets,
If it
even
hurts
with
us or you think we're gonna not like it,
tell
still tell
us.
us. We have this bond, so you can be able to tell me.
Yep.
And it may not be right away, but they do
It's like I went
end up telling
through
us what
the
they thought.
kids' phones because the oldest has a phone, the girls share a phone, and I went through their phones and they were hating on my music selection. Oh, they were like, oh, mommy loves this song, Brian T. She loves this, and oh, not one of these again. And I was like, oh, you guys couldn't tell me. But like even going through their phones, because we do have blocks and restrictions on their phone, as even the oldest, but I still will go through them on occasion because you never know, right? You never know. Kids hide things. I hid things because I had very strict parents, and it's important for us to be on our children. So sometimes we do have their phones and go through their phones, whatever. But it was so funny to come across those text messages because they're like, no, that's not what we were saying. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to get upset. You don't have to love everything I like. And I think that's why, even with church, as David said, like, we don't force them to go to the altar and pray. We don't even force them to pray, but you will be respectful. You're not going to talk during prayer, but like, if you're not going to pray, fine, that's between you and God. But
Yeah, definitely.
you're not going to be disrespectful. And I think that's, like I said, it goes back to the respect thing, like respecting, God is at the center of our lives and everything that we do. Like, they wake up with prayer, they go to bed with prayer. We do have fasting days because God didn't say that was an option. He said, when you fast, when you fast. It was not like, if you decide to fast or if you need a miracle, go ahead and fast. No, that's not what the Bible says. So our oldest kids know about fasting. The youngest, he doesn't really understand it, and that's fine. And that's the thing too, even like baptism and all that, we didn't baptize our kids. They got baptized on their own when they understood what baptism was, and they got baptized and they understood it. That's, like I said, family time, non-negotiable. Like, if we're watching a movie together, because our oldest is getting to that point where he wants to like wander off, be in his room, and I'm like, excuse me, sir, we are watching a movie right here. So there are some times where it's like, okay, you're not going to do this forever. Like, you're about to be 16. That's a few years away from 18. And if you decide to move out, I don't want him to. I am that mom. Like, I can be hard, but I'm also that mom. Like, I wanted kids so bad, and they told me I could never have them, or I would die during childbirth. So all four of our kids are miracles. We planned one of them.
Bless.
Okay, we definitely planned one of them. And I mean, it wasn't like prevention. It wasn't fully not prevention, but I mean, once I had the boy and girl, I was like, okay, I'm golden. And then the last two, like, the Lord knew what we needed, and I don't know how it would be if I didn't have four. Like, if we didn't have four, I don't know what it'd be like.
That'd be weird.
But I could say that family time is definitely non-negotiable with us, and there's not such hard discipline. It's a lot more redirection from us. I feel like there's more of like, not a soft approach. We're not soft parents, but we're also not parents who don't believe in discipline. I think we're a good mix between the two because, like David said, I'm the harder one when it comes to that. He's the softer one. Or even when we go to the store, I'm like, no, they were acting up. They ain't getting nothing. He's like, they still get something sometimes, like, it's just, but it's part of our balance between us, where I am at home with them all day. Yes, I work full time, but I also homeschool, so I'm with them 24/7. So I see a different side where sometimes it's easier for the parent who leaves the house to work to be like a little bit softer on them. But I definitely think that those are like some of the things that we don't argue on is like God, respect, love, and don't fake love. Like, don't be fake. Like, if you are not in the mood to love, like, don't be fake. I don't want a fake hug. I don't want a half hug. If you're gonna hug me for real,
Yeah, definitely.
So that's like something we've taught them as well, is like, don't be fake.
Doing everything.
And you're not gonna like everybody. You're not gonna love everybody. You don't have to hug everybody either.
Yeah. And you're not gonna be the favorite person all the time either, but you just have to be your best yourself. I remember telling my younger daughter that too. She's like, well, I'm not always a favorite. I was like, I never was either. But I was just myself.
But if you're not first, you're last.
People gravitate towards that, and that's what's beautiful. Is that, like Sarah said, they all are different individuals, and they need to hone in on that because that's what makes them special. If you try and copycat and try and be like somebody else, then you're not being your true self, and
that is a little harder for our kids because the competitiveness, it comes from both of us. Yeah, and that's why I said if you're not first, you're last, because that's
somebody else over here. You might not think she's competitive, but
get me playing a game. Get me playing. Yeah,
she'll fight you over tic-tac-toe. So
I will.
you better watch out. So if it's serious,
the kids will literally ask Daddy to play more than me because. But no, like I do love that about them, that they are a little bit competitive though too, because I think it makes them put their best foot forward. And we also do have to explain that also. Like, I joke around and say, if you're not first, you're last, because they all get mad if they are not the winner. Everybody does.
Yeah.
like games with us.
Yeah, it's
But
a lot.
you know,
But
it helps them to put their best foot forward. At the same time, we have to reel it in and say, okay, sometimes you're second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. There's six of us, you know, like that's okay. And we have to reiterate that, but I also like the fact that they are a little bit competitive. So, you know, and that's just, I mean, not too much in detail about how we parent, but I definitely think it's something that, you know, we wanted to talk about, like kind of how we grew up, how we raise our kids, and
mm-hmm.
why are they so awesome? God, definitely
Yeah, most
God.
definitely.
Because
That's
I
the
don't
biggest impact.
feel, sometimes we probably don't feel like we're the best parents, but like
No, definitely not.
our kids are a reflection of who they are. And I definitely know that our kids are, they're incredible. Like people tell us all the time, what's the saying that they say? They've never met kids like ours. They don't have never met kids like ours. And I think it's because we found that balance, but people don't realize sometimes when you are at the top or like you have something great, people don't know all you've gone through. Like
Yeah.
the beginning of our parenting wasn't great.
Yeah, or we've even been told or tell people like, well, yes, we're around them all the time, so we do see their flaws. But somebody told us, well, when they're away from you, it is the true reflection of how they were taught. And when they're not with you, they are good children. They are good, respectful children. Yes, they're still kids,
Yeah.
but they are respectful. Like Sarah said, they look after
Yeah.
the other young ones. The oldest looks after everybody, and it's just a constant reminder that they are no longer with their parents, so they need to take care of each other like they were taught. And that was
Exactly.
a reminder that, hey, they were pretty much saying, like, without saying it, like, you guys did a good job with your parenting, because it shows when you're not around your kids.
Yes.
It's almost like that saying, when the cat's away, the mouse will play. Well, in a sense, that kids are going to be kids, but they still knew what to do, and it was based off of what we hoped and thought we instilled in them, and we did, and we got that, that pat on the back, or that, hey, you did a great job, and that feels good, because like Sarah said, sometimes you don't always feel like you are the best parent, because you have to make hard choices, you have to do hard things, you have to do things that make them feel like they are not, you're not their friend, but you're doing this because you're the parent and they're the child, and you have to make those decisions.
And we have
And
good
it's
times
not.
together. Like we have good times together as if we're all big kids because we definitely don't feel our age,
Well,
and nor do we act our age
we're big
in our
kids for sure.
opinions. We're big kids.
We're
And
around kids our whole life,
and what we do with our kids too is we do give them responsibilities, and I think that that's a big thing. Like, we don't call it chores because that's just taking care of your household.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking the trash because we all use the trash can, cleaning a bathroom because we all use the bathroom,
Yeah.
washing dishes because we all use dishes. Like, it's not like, oh, this is your chore today and this is your week. We've always just incorporated them. Like they help us cook, they help us clean, and we've never had to make it like a rule that they did. I mean, cleaning the rooms is a little different, but we literally get in their rooms and help them still, or even just guide them. Like I said, redirection is a really big thing for us, and that's definitely like I don't know, they're just awesome kids, and I think we've
Yeah, I think that's a lot. Like, not a lot, but that was pretty much what we tried to fly by the seat of our pants and
yeah.
go off of. But yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know if you have any more stuff you want to touch
No,
on or say anything else
I don't
though.
have anything else to
But
say, but
thank you
you
guys.
know.
Yeah, that was definitely awesome. Um, we do appreciate you guys. Love you guys. And
And I want to say one last thing.
yes.
This is called exposing it all because this is not perfectly edited. This is not perfect recordings or, we don't have the fanciest setup. This is
Mhm.
just us sharing truth and topics that we want to talk about. And that's why it's called exposing it all, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the beautiful, because sometimes it's not going to be perfect. Sometimes it might be a long video. Sometimes it might be a short video, but we're just sharing a little bit of our lives and sharing a little bit of, some things that we feel like we wanted to share. That's all. But yeah, we will definitely catch you guys in the next one.
Yep. Thank you.
And have a good night.
Good night.